It is day 61, and I'm going to continue on my recovery journey, talking about step 4 and step 5. James 5:16 says, "Therefore confess your sins to one another and pray for each other so that you may be healed." And that's where this step comes in. However, I think this is the step in which people stop at and they don't make it any further because nobody wants to confess their sins and take responsibility for their behavior and their actions. It is difficult. It is difficult to write down all your faults or all the things that you're angry about or have resentment about, because when you begin to process that, you begin to see your place and the things that you do in those situations. So it was really difficult for me. It took me like about 6 weeks to finish the process. I had 136 questions to answer. I answered them in session. So really, I guess the whole total time probably took about 2 months to answer all the questions and then meet with my sponsor on a regular basis to read my answers and confess my junk. However, I got stuck on the first part of it because in the first set it dealt with your childhood, your adolescence, your teen years, and then your young adult, and then adult life, and then it asked some other questions. And in the process of that, I got stuck on some questions in my childhood that I really didn't want to answer. I didn't want to write things down. It made me uncomfortable, and so it took me a long time, but my sponsor pushed me and said, you know, you have to do it. You want to be free. And I remembered going through personal ministry, and one of the things that was said then was that the level of your confession determines the level of your deliverance. And I really wanted to be free, so I went on and pressed through and wrote those things down. And once I confessed them and said them out of my mouth and said them to another person, a trusted, safe person, I was free. I was set free. It just, all of it lost its power, and it wasn't so strange and so different, and it wasn't so scary, and it wasn't so abnormal as I thought it was. And that's what makes it a difference, because that's what the enemy tells us. He tells us that we're different, that the things that we go through in our life, they're unique to us, and so you can't tell nobody that because people won't understand. They'll judge you, yada, yada, yada. Well, in this step, it gives you the freedom to be able to tell all your stuff, to get all your resentments out, get all of your hurt out and get it out, and to tell the story. And then too, you also begin to see the schemes of the enemy. I began to see when I started controlling, and why I continued to do so, and how because of how my mind then was twisted, how my reality got adjusted. And so even though situations would be difficult, I could twist it too to make it even more so. So then the situation appeared the way I needed it to appear. So then I would then go in and try to control it. So it's really, you know, how the mind works to protect itself. It's very creative. It's a very powerful organ that God has placed inside of us, and it'll do all kinds of things to shift so that you see what you need to see to protect your reality, so that you don't have to put yourself out there. And all of my controlling was to protect myself. So anyway, step 4 and step 5 is a deliverance step. It is about getting all your stuff out, getting it out there, so then you can then go on to the next steps, and really get to the reason why you do the things you do, and then be free. That's all the process is. And it's difficult, and it's hard, and it's scary, but it's freeing, it's delivering. Now it's easy to go through, and it's easy to answer the hard questions. It's easy to do because once you're free, you want to stay that way. You don't want to go back into bondage, so then you don't even care. So I'll tell anybody anything at this point, because I don't want to be in that bondage again to control and to fear. That's all this is about. That's all 12-step journey is about being free. And I'm working on not saying so I don't want to say so. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.